Hello, my name is Margarita Jerembetova, and I'm going to talk about a book, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This book is about a girl named Margaret Murray who had some siblings, like the twins, Charles Wallace, and the twins were ordinary. Her brother was very smart, but she was known for being kind of weird and different. People knew her as a very unbright student who never focused in class. The truth was that it took her a longer time and pace to study. Nobody knew about her skills in math, and that was because she knew other ways rather than those that others use. One day she met Mrs. Watson, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which because Charles Wallace was friends with them. The three women knew about her father's life and how he left his family. She wanted to find him and they helped her. They tethered into another dimension and were to find her father. Together with another friend that they just met the other day, who is Calvin O'Keefe, they went to a planet that gave in to a very evil substance, which is known as the black thing. It always prevented any good things happening, and when they arrived to the planet Kamazots, they found out that with those who gave in to that substance, they would never be themselves. They would all be the same and be like robots. When they came to the Central Intelligence Center, they met a man who was also on the side of it. It was a brain that was controlled through the black thing. Charles Wallace gave in and had to lead them to their father. However, he did not let them free him because he was hypnotized by the black thing. There, Margaret used the glasses that she was given by one of the three women, Mrs. Which, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Watson. When she used the glasses, she freed her father from the cell. When she freed her father, Charles Wallace was controlled by it and he was really mad. Her father had no other choice than to tether into another dimension. In the other dimension, they met three creatures which they called beasts. Because the black thing was in control, she got paralyzed and the beasts helped her. My favorite part of the story was when Margaret came back to save her brother and found out that love was the thing that it didn't have, and she saved her brother. Thank you.
Hello. The author of this book is Lois Lowry, Lois Lowry. She made a lot of books, including The Giver and The Sun, and many books, but not many books, just some of them. The genre of this book is a young adult fiction. And the setting of this book is a dystopia community where every people and society has a dark, like, yeah, very dark life. they have many violent issues and other things. I'll give a summary of this book. The story starts with a like introducing the society where people has like very dark and then like very depressed society which has like violent things. They have inequality and then they don't have jobs. And there is a young boy, 12 years old, which is so Jonas. He become the receiver of the giver and receive memories and like make people like be happy again. But he like didn't really like this society because every people has like yeah. When Jonas is receiving memory, he got the memory of the war when many people died and then many people suffered, including his close friends and families. Gabrielle, which is the baby, and Jonah's father is the main character too. They they be together and then try to escape the society, including the giver, help the Jonas to receive memories and become like get the mind and then go out the society. The ending of this book is that the Gabrielle and Jonas became like finally escape the society and then be living again. Uh I think the people who like this kind of book, which is young adult fiction, will really like this book. And I will recommend this book to Sam Kim. Mm-mm. Because I think he likes this kind of book. The person who doesn't like this dystopia community, which is the setting of this book, will least enjoy this book. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve, and today I'm going to make a presentation about the book Twilight written by Stephanie Meyer. So, about the author. Twilight was written by Stephanie Meyer, an American author best known for vampire romance series. Meyer was inspired to write Twilight after having a vivid dream about a human girl and a sparkle vampire in a meadow. This dream became a key scene in the novel, and Twilight was her debut novel, published in 2005, and it quickly became a bestseller, launching the four-book Twilight saga and a global phenomenon. Mayer's writing often explores themes of forbidden love, identity, and sacrifice. So the book's genre is a young adult paranormal normal romance love, and it blends supernatural fantasy, vampires and werewolves with high school drama and emotional romance. And because of this, it also touches on elements of coming of age and suspension. And the mix of fantasy and reality makes it accessible and captivating for young readers. And for the setting, Twilight is set in the small, rainy town of Oaks, Washington. This gloomy, overcast setting is important because it allows the vampire characters to live among humans without being exposed to sunlight, which reveals their supernatural nature. And folk becomes more than a backdrop. It mirrors the mood of the story, mysterious, quiet, and emotionally intense. Other important locations include Bella's house, Folk's High School, and the surrounding forests. So for the character analysis, Bella Swan is the protagonist, a 17-year-old girl who moves from sunny Phoenix, Arizona to live with her father in Florence. Bella is introspective, awkward, and self-sacrificing, and she often downplays her own worth, but she's deeply loyal and curious. Her attraction to Edward Cullen drives most of the plots. And Edward Cullen is a vampire who appears to be 17, but actually is over 100 years old. And Edward is brooding, intelligent, and protective. He struggles with his nature and danger he poses to Bella, but he's also drawn to her in a way he can't explain. And his inner conflict is a major theme in the story. Charlie Swan is Bella's father and the police chief of Forks. And he's quiet and awkward like Bella, but clearly cares about her. And the Cullen family is a group of vampires who lived together and pretend to be a family and also a human, not a vampire. They include Charlie's Esma and siblings Alice, Jasper, Rosalie, and Emmett, each with their own unique personality and abilities they can use. In summary, the story begins when Bella Swan leaves to Volk from the Phoenix, Arizona, and quickly becomes intrigued by Edward Cullen, a mysterious and handsome student at her school. And Bella soon discovers that Edward is a vampire as well as the Cullen families that he is like living with, and despite the danger, they fall in love, and their relationship is intense and complicated. And because Edward constantly fears that he might hurt Bella, but they're drawn to each other in a way neither they can deny. And as their relationship deepens, Bella learns more about Edward's family and their lifestyles. And unlike typical vampires, they choose to live off animal blood rather than hunt humans. But their love is tested when a group of rogue vampires comes to the fold. And one of them, James, becomes obsessed with hunting Bella, and the Cullens work together to protect her from the James, and leading to a climatic confrontation. And in the end, Bella survives from James hunting her, but she becomes more determined to become a vampire herself so that she can actually date with Edward, and so she can. However, Edward resists Bella being a vampire because he feared her soul and her future. So in conclusion, Twilight is a captivating novel that blends supernatural fantasy with real human emotions. Though Bella and Edward's relationship is very in love and identical, they couldn't fall in love because Edward is a vampire and Bella is actually human. And it's a modern love story that sparks a cultural phenomenon, especially among teen readers, and continues to be a defining piece of young adult fiction. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Lisa, and
Wow,
today
wow,
I'll
wow.
be presenting Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Okay. The genre of Ready Player One is a mystery as well as like a dystopian future where like the whole world is at like the worst part of a giant energy crisis, and the main character himself says that he's been born at the worst time in history. The setting of this book is the future in in the 2040s, where most of the world is in poverty. global warming has become a lot worse. There's overpopulation, and like it's just all a terrible time. So people turn to this giant virtual reality game called Oasis, and they kind of lose themselves in it to like numb their pain of living in the real world. To give a brief summary of this book is about like a will of a multimillionaire game developer named James Holiday of Oasis, who says that whoever finds an Easter egg, like a secret hidden feature in a game, in his game, Oasis, would inherit his entire fortune because he has no heirs. And like everyone around the world is like desperate to try finding this Easter egg in this game, but over the years nobody finds anything, so they start like losing interest in it and like thinking that it's like a pointless ordeal people do. However, after around 5 years, the main character, Wade Watts, finds a clue, and this book is about that story. The author of this book is, as I said, Ernest Cline, and he doesn't really have much of a story to him. He's basically exactly like James Holiday in the book. He's obsessed with 1980s pop culture. He's obsessed with video games, and he's basically a giant nerd. And like this book is like very symbolic of that nature, I feel, because it's all about video games and all about like this giant game in which this multi-millionaire's will is. I think someone who enjoys games like Tyler will enjoy this book because it has a lot of like references to games. You don't really have to know the 1980s like pop culture. The book kind of feeds it to you, so I don't think that will be a problem. And I think anyone who doesn't play games will be like really annoyed by the constant jargon and stuff. But I don't think anybody in our class doesn't really like. We all kind of play games, so it's all enjoyable for all of us.
Wow.
What?
Pause.
Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about Macbeth, written by William Shakespeare. I will be discussing a key event, my favorite character, a memorable quote, and my thoughts on the book. One of the most important events in Macbeth is when Macbeth murders King Duncan. This is a turning point in the play because it marks the beginning of Macbeth's downfall. At first he is hesitant, but after being influenced by Lady Macbeth, he goes through with it. This act leads to his growing paranoia and eventual destruction. This reminds me of how bad decisions, even when they seem small, can have a major consequence. For example, I once saw a friend cheat on a test, but at first they thought it wasn't a big deal, but later they caught it and had to face the consequences. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about my favorite character. My favorite character in Macbeth is Macduff. He is brave, honorable, and determined to fight for justice. While Macbeth is motivated by ambition and greed, Macduff stands for what is right. He plays a key role in defeating Macbeth and restoring the order to Scotland. Macduff reminds me of my father because he values integrity and always does the right thing even when it's difficult. Now I'll be talking about the memorable quote that I found in Macbeth. One of the most famous lines in Macbeth is, "Fair is foul and foul is fair." This is spoken by Three Witches in Act 1, Scene 1. It means that appearance can be deceiving. Something that seems good actually may be bad, and vice versa. This quote is important because it foreshadows how Macbeth, who starts as a noble warrior, will become a ruthless tyrant. I like this quote because it reminds me not to judge things too quickly. Sometimes what looks perfect on the outside isn't as good as it seems. Now, I'll be giving my rating and recommendation of Macbeth. I would rate Macbeth a 9 out of 10 because it is full of suspense, betrayal, and deep themes about ambition and power. Even though Shakespeare's language can be challenging, the story is exciting and meaningful. I would recommend this book to anyone who enjoys dark, thought-provoking stories, especially who likes history or psychological dramas. Okay. How much minutes is it? 3분? Okay. I'll be talking for 2 minutes. Okay. I'll be sharing more of my thoughts for the memorable events when Macbeth kills King Duncan. One of the most memorable and most important moments in the play is when Macbeth kills King Duncan. This happens in Act 2, and it is a huge turning point. Macbeth starts off as a loyal and brave warrior, but after the witches give him a prophecy and Lady Macbeth pushes him, he decides to murder Duncan in his sleep. This moment is key because it's when Macbeth crosses the line. He goes from being a respected nobleman to a murderer. After that, everything begins to fall apart for him. He becomes paranoid, starts seeing things, and ends up committing more crimes just to hold on to power. This event made me think about how one bad choice, especially when made out of fear or ambition, can lead to a bigger consequence. I've seen this happen in real life too. When someone makes a small mistake or bad decision, it can grow into something so much worse if they don't stop it early. Now, let me talk more about my favorite character, that is Macduff. My favorite character in the play is Macduff. While Macduff is driven by selfish ambition, Macbeth. Macduff is a symbol of honesty and justice. He doesn't seek for power himself, he just wants what's right for Scotland. One of the most powerful moments is when he finds out that Macbeth had his family killed. Instead of giving into grief, Macduff turns his pain into strength and fights back. In the end, he's the one who defeats Macbeth and brings back peace to the kingdom. Macduff reminds me of someone close to me, my dad. He's someone I admire for always standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Just like Macduff, he puts others first and does what he believes in without needing recognition. Okay, let me just talk for like 10 seconds more. One quote that really stuck with me is fair is foul and foul is fair. It is said by the witches in the very first scene. It means that things are not always what they seem. Something that looks good might actually be bad, and something that looks bad can actually turn out to be good. This idea is everywhere in the play. Macbeth seems like a hero at first, but he becomes a villain. Lady Macbeth appears strong, but she breaks down with guilt. Even the witches speak in riddles that twist the truth. I think this quote is really relevant today, whether it's people, situations, or even what we see online. Things can be misleading. This is a reminder to think critically and not trust appearances too easily. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.